Another great day for a baseball game, huh? I wish I could play tonight. But I can't run.
Can you hit?
You don't forget how to hit, man. You forget how to walk.
How much fun is it to do something like this, Pete?
Say it again?
How much fun is it to be able to come out and, and for what you can do to hang out at a ballpark like tonight?
That's a good way to put it, what I can do. Believe it or not, the last couple of years I've done several independent leagues, ballparks. Not many affiliated ballparks. I wish I could. I almost did one in Allentown, but Mikey, where is Mikey?
Right.
I've done some, haven't I? Affiliated teams.
We wanted to, but it's the first we've been allowed for affiliated ball.
Okay, so based on that, then we should thank the commissioner for allowing me to be here tonight. And of course, I did a banquet in Syracuse in January for the ball club, Hot Stove League, for a kickoff for this year, and it was fun. We had 950 people go to the banquet. I don't know if I should say this or not, but it would be more fun for me if I could, talk to the players, help the players, meet the coaches, meet the manager, say hi to the umpires, all those kind of things that you do as a baseball player. I don't quite understand why I'm allowed to go out and throw the first pitch but can't talk to the players. Because I look at it like this. That's all I do for a living, is talk to people about baseball 4.5 hours a day, 20 days a month. And you might think I'm crazy when I say this, but I'm the best ambassador baseball has, because I'm the only one that does that. And of course I work for Fox, so I really stay close to what's going on in baseball. And baseball allowed me to do that too. So DraftKings, baseball owns 10% of that, but it's not gambling. That's what they tell me.
We were trying to figure out, this is probably the first time you've been in an affiliated ballpark not named Cincinnati since when you managed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess you might be right. I was close to going to the Iron Pigs over in Allentown on Father's Day a couple years ago, but they canceled that with about 2 weeks to go. But, I'm on the field 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati on Saturday, on Friday with the Big Red Machine reunion, on Saturday going in the Reds Hall of Fame, on Sunday getting my number retired, and next year getting the statue. I was at the All-Star game 2 years ago. Last one was in San Diego when I was part of the franchise 4, able to come on the field. So, the noose is loosened a little bit, but I'm not here to complain about that because I'm the one that screwed it up. But I just think, like, the reason I started talking about this, I just think that I can give a perspective to the players that they never heard before. I played in 3,500 games. I batted 14,000 times. I played in 1,972 winning games. I played in World Series after World Series, All-Star games after All-Star games. So, I can give them perspective on how to work hard to get there. Because they're only a heartbeat away. Being in AAA, you're only a heartbeat away. And maybe I shouldn't talk like that because I never spent a day in AAA. I went from A ball to the big leagues. I skipped AAA. I was good, man.
Pete, who's the real hit king, Pete Rose or Ichiro?
Are you talking about professional hits?
Yeah.
Me. Got 4,683. That's professional hits. That's hits when you get paid. Listen, I'm not here to badmouth Ichiro or Japanese baseball, but that would be like comparing the European basketball players to the NBA. They work hard in Japan, and Ichiro's no question Hall of Famer. I don't know if he'll make the Hall of Fame in Japan, but I must ask this question while we're on Ichiro. And I got a lot of respect for Ichiro. He tied one of my records, 200 his seasons 10 times. When he got his 1,800 hit in his career over here, how come everybody didn't say he got 3,000? Where'd that go? Now all of a sudden he's 3,000. He jumped to 4,200. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're going to give him credit for his Japanese hits now, you should have given him credit then. Or does that mean that Sada R.O. would have come here and hit one home run, he'd be the home run king. You know, I can give you two statistics. I got 4,256 hits at the major league level, and I got 4,683 hits at the professional level. Now you can write that any way you want. Okay? I played in Japan, and they work hard and they're disciplined. And you know, but another question I'd ask you guys is, in the last 25 years, how many Japanese players have excelled at big league baseball? And on the same token, how many Dominican Republic players have excelled in Major League Baseball? And Japan has 130 million people. There were 11 players from the Dominican at the All-Star game last week. How many were from Japan? 0. What does that tell you? I mean, is baseball easier there or easier here? Obviously, it's harder here. But Ichiro's done a good job. Matsui did a good job. But most of the guys that made the big leagues from Japan over here are pitchers. They're not hitters. You know, so we don't know how many hits he'd have got if he played his whole career here. We don't know how many hits Roberto Clemens would have got if he hadn't got killed. We don't know how many hits that Kirby Puckett would have got if he hadn't had that eye disease. We don't know those things. You can't speculate that. Well, I remember 4 or 5 years ago they were saying Jeter's going to beat Pete Rose's record. Well, you know, because they say, okay, he's going to be 42 and he's averaging 185 hits. He's going to be 43. Well, none of us in this room do the things at 40 we did at 30, except me. Well, I led the league in hits when I was 40. Okay, so, and I was clean. Okay, you look at me, you think I took steroids, don't you? No, it's a young man's game, and there's a lot of great players in baseball today, and there's a lot of bad teams, and I don't have to sit here and name the bad teams. You guys, you know who they are as well as I do. You know, there's a bad team that this team here plays under. You know, Minnesota had a great year last year with Molitor. Molitor's a fine manager, great player, but they're having a bad year this year. So everybody that plays out here has an opportunity. You know, when your AAA, when your major league team's not doing well, and you're a AAA and you start putting numbers up, one thing they can do in Minneapolis is read. They can read. They know statistics. So the easiest way to get to the big leagues is bust here.
You joked about steroids. Should steroid users be in the Hall of Fame?
Well, that's a good question. And now, are you asking would I vote for Barry Bonds? Yes. Are you asking would I vote for Roger Clemens? Yes. Okay, because but those guys are friends of mine. I don't know what they did. I have my own problems. You know, I can ask you, do you believe someone gambled should be in the Hall of Fame? Okay, what's your answer?
What's your answer?
I'm asking you. You're the only one can ask questions?
They're paying me the big bucks to ask the questions.
Listen,
I'm switching to TV.
huh? Switching to TV. Well, both are bad. Okay, tell the youngsters not to do either one. Okay, but I can tell you one thing about what I did. I had nothing to do with altering the statistics of baseball. And one thing that's sacred with baseball is statistics. That's why baseball cards are worth more than football players' cards or basketball players or hockey cards. Because we have a rich history starting in 1869. First night game in 1935, both in Cincinnati. So, you know, but I got a lot of friends, and I can't sit here and badmouth Roger Clemens because till this day he says he didn't take steroids. Who am I to call Roger Clemens a liar? And Barry Bonds, you know, he's come clean. I mean, he's working for baseball. He's a batting coach. Mark McGuire is working for baseball. They're batting coaches. Pete Rose can't go in the clubhouse.
Does that sting you, knowing that Barry Bonds likely took steroids, yet he's a
No.
hitting coach?
No, I'm happy for Barry. Barry's a friend of mine. He erased one of my records, you know, a run scored record in the National League. That's the only record that's fallen since I retired. And I got a lot of records. I'm the record holder for records.
Is that
It's the truth. I mean, what the heck? I mean, I have the record for 2-hit games. I have the record for 3-hit games. I have the record for 4-hit games. I have the record for 5-hit games. I never got 6. Although one time in the minor leagues, I was 0 for 2 in the first inning playing for Macon, and we beat Greenville, the Dodgers, 32-5. And I got 6 hits after I was 0 for 2 in the first inning. 6 for 8. The only time I ever got 6 hits.
Pete, you said this
That's
feels like
fun.
you feel like the noose is loosening a little bit with some of
Yeah.
the things you're able to do.
Yeah.
Are you looking for other opportunities to further loosen the noose, or maybe do more of what you're already doing?
Yeah, I'd like to go to the ballpark, man. I mean, you know, I was in Cooperstown this morning. I'll be there tomorrow morning, and I'll be there the next morning. And to come over here to Rochester was fun. You know, me and my pal. Where's my pal? Where's Bill at? We had an airplane that there's only there he is right there. There's only a couple guys sitting in front of me that could fit in the plane with us. That was a little plane, man. I was sitting there listening and praying the whole way here. The plane I was in today, you know what it had on top of it? A parachute. It had a parachute on it. He said, here's the parachute if you need to pull it. Okay, so we didn't need to pull it, so we're okay. But no, it's fun to come to the ballpark. And believe it or not, guys, it's usually really fun to go to minor league ballparks and independent league ballparks, because all these kids playing tonight are anxious about making the big leagues, looking for an opportunity to make the big leagues. And that might be the commissioner of your league. Let me answer this. But you know, it's just when you come to a ballpark like this, or especially in the internet or the independent leagues, because they don't make much money, but they have a lot of enthusiasm because they're looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. And they're like these guys. They're not here to be AAA players. They want to be big league players. That's what they want to do, and they're doing pretty good here. 3rd place, 3rd best record in the league. That's good. That's a start. You know, but I'm a little different than most people who run minor league programs today. I just was down at your general manager's office, and we think along the same line. What do I mean by that is we want to win. You know, we're not worried about development. Maybe our bosses are. But I want to win, because I think that the biggest thing you can teach a young player in the minor leagues or independent league or wherever else is to win. Because when I was manager of the Cincinnati Reds, we had a great organization, and all the players that came up were winners. You know, hell, when I was in the minor leagues, we won at Tampa, we won at Macon. And when I got to the big leagues, I expected to win. If you don't win in the minor leagues, you don't expect to win when you get to the big leagues. See, winning there's 2 attitudes you can have, winning or losing, if you want to call it positive or negative. You can't be in between. And I want guys that are winners, guys that are positive. You're not going to win all the time. You know, baseball is a failing sport, guys. You're successful 3 out of 10, and you go to the Hall of Fame. Well, most guys. In other words, you make 7 out of 10 outs. That's just the way it is. What other sport can you fail 7 out of 10 times and be at the top of your game? No other sport.
When
Yeah.
you have,
One more question for Pete, guys.
when you have
Well,
the
where we
op-
going?
Oh.
Where we going?
You gotta go downstairs.
I don't got to go anywhere. Just kidding. You'll win when we get outside.
When you get the opportunities to speak with Commissioner Manfred, and he asks you the question, why should you be in the Hall of Fame, what's your response?
I already met with Mr. Manfred, and we had a very, very, very delightful meeting, I must say. He's a nice guy. He was born right down the street from Geneva. I think he was born in York, New York. Well, why? Because I've taken responsibility for what I did. Listen, for what I did was 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago. It's time to move on. It's time to get over it and move on. You know, and he understands how devoted I am to baseball, how much I love the game of baseball, how much I try to sell the game of baseball. You know, but baseball has to understand no matter what I can do or what I can't do, my name is synonymous with the game of baseball. Okay? I got more hits than anybody in the history of baseball. I won more games than anybody in the history of baseball. I played on the greatest team in the history of baseball. That's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. How lucky am I? I led off for the Big Red Machine. The next 3 guys that batted after me all have statues at the ballpark. Not plaques, statues. You got to be a good player to have a statue, right? Right? You know any players got a statue?
A few.
Do you? Who you know?
Not me personally. All of them.
Well, you will now because I'm getting my statue next year. Now you know one. Now you know one.
Would it matter to you if the ban was, it's a lifetime ban, if it was listed after your lifetime, do you think that?
Well, how's it going to matter to me?
I mean, Shoeless Joe is still not in the Hall of Fame. It's
Yeah,
been-
but there again, please, don't compare my case with Shoeless Joe, okay? I don't know what Shoeless Joe did. Nobody does. All we know is he took money to throw baseball games. I bet him own team to win. So there's no similarities there. There's no similarities there. I saw that happen with Ron Santo. Great player for the Cubs. They waited till he died and they put him in the Hall of Fame. Baseball has to understand that, and all sports have to understand this, the more living Hall of Famers you have walking around this country, the better off your sport is. Because they're selling the sport that was so good to them. Okay? I can't control what they're going to do. I mean, I got an 11-year-old grandson named Pete Rose. So they're going to have to go a long time without putting me in without somebody named Pete Rose thanking him. Okay? I got a son named Pete Rose. He's got a son named Pete Rose. And I got another son that's named Jordan Pete Rose. So there's going to be a Pete Rose for a long time. So, you'd hate to think that way because the Hall of Fame, it really meant a lot to me going to Cincinnati Hall of Fame because I was born 3 miles from the ballpark. That's where I was born. 3 miles from where Great American Ballpark is. And now I'm in the Reds Hall of Fame. And it's the best Hall of Fame in baseball. And I'm not comparing it to Cooperstown now. But of all the 30 teams, the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame, they put more effort into it and more artifacts into it and more history into it than any other Hall of Fame. It's unbelievable. And for me to be a member, to me to get my number retired, to me to get a statue, I mean, if we were at the racetrack, that would be 1A, and 1B. Because I can't separate them. I don't know which one I got more goosebumps for. I thought it was the Hall of Fame, but the next day when they take that thing down, your number's up there, that's forever. That's not next week. There's less guys with their number retired than in the Reds Hall of Fame, and there's less guys with statues than have their numbers retired. So, I'm just going to try to live until next June and get my statue, and we'll see what happens. Don't bury me yet, okay? Man.
Some guy on Twitter just said, after I quoted you, I'm the record holder of records, some guy just said, I'm pretty sure that's Ricky Henderson.
What do you mean?
This guy's saying that Ricky Henderson has the most major league records.
No, I don't know. He's got run scored records and maybe base on balls.
Pete, you mentioned you wish you could talk to the players more, teach them different things. What are some of the messages and just some of the lessons and things that you would want to talk to them about and teach them?
Oh, just the importance of hard work, the importance of dedication, the importance of being aggressive, the importance of never being satisfied. That's why I got all the records. Everybody had more ability than me. But I was a grinder. You would call me a grinder. I didn't get tired. I didn't get tired. And I was always fortunate to be around great players. Hell, when I went to Philly, I had the greatest third baseman ever. And one of the greatest left-handers ever, Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt. Then when I went to Montreal, I had Andre Dawson, Tim Raines, one of the greatest catchers ever, Gary Carter. I played with Frank Robinson. Played with Bench, Morgan, Perez, Seaver, Barry Larkin. I played with him. He was my first player to make the Hall of Fame. So when you're around people like that and you're around attitudes like that, and it's tough. But it's not tough for these guys because they're kids. They're younger. They're young guys. They're not 35. They're not 34. They got their whole life ahead of them. And this is just a stop on the way. This is a stop in the way. I wish they could all make the big leagues. I wish they could all play 3,500 games like I did. I wish they could all bat 14,000 times. I wish they could all get 4,000 hits, but they won't because they just won't approach it like I did. There's been 14,000 baseball players in the history of baseball. There's only 2 got 4,000 hits. And we all know the other one, Ty Cobb. I mean, who was better than Ty Cobb? This guy played 24 years, had a 367 lifetime batting average. Good. Greatest player in the history of baseball. You know who it is? You know who it was? Who would you say? There's only one name. There's only one name as the greatest player in the history of baseball. Does anybody know?
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth. Who else? Babe Ruth. Babe was the man. And Babe still has pitching records today. I mean, Babe Ruth used to hit more home runs than all the teams put together. And he was hitting rocks. You know, I met Babe Ruth's daughter about 7, 8 years ago. And I was signing autographs in Cooperstown. Don't get alarmed. I'm allowed in Cooperstown. I'm just not allowed to hang in Cooperstown, okay? And she walked 4 blocks down to say hi to me. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I was nervous. I was more nervous talking to her than I was when I was in front of that federal judge. That's how nervous Babe Ruth's daughter made me. She can't be Babe Ruth's daughter. How can anybody be Babe Ruth's daughter? I hope they say that about my son someday. How can that be Pete Rose's son? I mean, Babe was the man. And see, when I got into baseball in '63, I used to sit on the airplanes with a guy named Wade Hoyt, who was our announcer, who was a Hall of Fame player for the Yankees. He roomed with Babe Ruth. He played with Babe Ruth. He played against Ty Cobb. And I used to just sit there and listen to stories. I know more stories about Babe Ruth and about Ty Cobb than anybody you'll ever see. Because he had the stories, and he just constantly, I was one of those guys that all I wanted to hear is about the history of baseball. I'm like A-Rod. Every time I'm with A-Rod, he starts talking about, he wants to talk about Ruth, and he wants to talk about Garrick, and he wants to talk about Mays, and he wants to talk Aaron. Alex, I can talk about Henry, and I can talk about Willie. I didn't play with Babe. How old do you think I am? Let's get back. Let's get up to the 50s and 60s, Alex, not the 20s and 30s. But it's fun. I mean, yeah, if you have anybody ever met A-Rod, he's a great guy. I mean, he's like me. You're really surprised that we would both make the mistakes we did because we have such a love for the game. That's one thing I really admire about Alex Rodriguez. He loves the game of baseball. He loves to talk about the game of baseball. And let me tell you something, guys. You start analyzing statistics. You know, he might be the only guy. I think he's the only guy to date that he has over 2,000 RBIs and 2,000 runs scored, and he's only played 19 years. That's some hefty stats, man. 2,000 RBIs and 2,000 runs scored, and he's only 3 home runs away from 700. He's got over 3,500 hits. That's some pretty good stats. So you guys go to make up your mind on A-Rod, just like you're going to make up your mind eventually on Roger and on Barry and on Palmeiro and on Sosa. You know, the guys in the, what do they call it, the steroid era, whatever the hell that is. Last question.
How's your son doing in Wichita? Speaking about, you're talking about your
My son is doing fabulous. My son's team got off to a 3-9 start. And they lost last night, but they have a 6.5 game lead. They're like 38-19 now after a 3-9 start. So they're hot.
What's it mean for you or your son to kind of carry on that traditional love of baseball?
Well, Petey was raised in baseball, man. You know, just like the kid going in the Hall of Fame son, he was raised in baseball, junior. You know, we used to have. That was one rule I really liked Sparky had. Sparky had 2 rules. You know that. Well, he had a lot of rules, but his main rule was be on time and play hard. Okay, but 2 rules I really liked that he had was if you win and you go to the playoffs, no wives or girlfriends. If you go to the World Series, wives and girlfriends, because the playoffs are business. And the other rule he had that I loved, you know, all the kids are at the game in Cincinnati. And if we lost the game, they weren't allowed in the clubhouse. If they won the game, they could come in the clubhouse and mess with their dads. So what did that do? They sat up there and just wanted us to win every game. And when you got my kid and McRae's kid and you know, and Bourbone's kid and Perez's kid and Griffey's kid, hell, our hardest game every year was the father and son game. We couldn't win that damn thing. I mean, there's really something too, you know, raising it like my grandson. He went to join his dad on July 1st, and he's going back home next week because he's got to play football. They lost 2 games while he was there, and he's 11 years old. He's taking batting practice with him. He's out fielding with the shortstop. He's on the bus, 14-hour bus rides with him. that's going to make that kid want to be an athlete. When you expose someone to something that they really liked, that their dads did, they want to do it too. That's not coincidental. There's so many juniors playing in the big leagues. You know, there's so many guys followed in their footsteps, their dad's footsteps, because they saw what kind of living it was, what kind of life it was. There's nothing like the big league life. I mean, it's unbelievable. I just wonder how it is today. I mean, you know, when we played, we counted our money. They play today, they weigh it. They weigh it, but God bless them. That's the way society is. You know, hell, I worked on the set at the World Series with A-Rod and Scherzer, Max, and I'm sitting between two guys that signed $550 million worth of contracts to play baseball. And they're regular guys. But, you know, they're funny. I'm talking about Scherzer, I'm talking about A-Rod now. Because you know what I mean, or maybe you don't know what I mean, that they just act rich. You know what I mean? Not arrogant, but they act rich. You know why? Because they are rich. And it's, you know, just like A-Rod, I mean, we're on the set. A-Rod's got 3 girls working for him on the set, okay? One's doing his hair, and one's doing his tie, and one's answering his phone. You know, Max didn't have anybody. All Max told me is he says, I'm going to go to the Cabo and swim with the sharks. I said, Max, what are you, crazy? You just signed a $200 million? He said, the sharks don't bite. I said, what channel are you watching? I said, Max, I know they don't bite, but let's just take, for instance, that one of those sharks. What's going to happen to you then? You better hope he bites your left arm off because you throw right-handed. He goes every year and swims with the sharks. He's the greatest. Max is the greatest. He's got one black eye and one blue eye. Okay? He's got 2 different color eyes. One in 2 or 3 million or something. He's got a dog that has the same eyes. One blue one and one black one. But that son of a bitch can pitch, boy. He can pitch. That guy can pitch. He can pitch.